Much better. Hello, everyone. Hi. So, welcome to Sweet Dreams with the Dreamer. That's what I'm going to call this, Sweet Dreams with the Dreamer. And um, this is unscripted, unplanned uh, time that we're going to have with each other. This is not a learning time. This is not a teaching time. This is not a dear dreamer. This is how we can move the dreams to reality time. This is I'm the dreamer, and there's some things that God is walking me through in this season that I get to share with you in real time as they're happening. Time. So this is what this is about. This is what this live time is going to be used for, and this is how I'm going to show up on these sweet dreams with the dreamer days, whatever that looks like. So they'll come as they come. Sometimes they'll be on Mondays at this time, and sometimes they might not. It depends on really how I feel led, and what I know that God is saying to me. Now, listen, in this space, I'm not as comfortable. I'm gonna be real with you. Not just on camera. I can get on camera, but I think that the vulnerability that I get to have with you in this hour, in this time, or it's not even, I don't plan to hold you an hour on these, but in this time is not common for me, especially particularly in this space. So I'm excited to be able to share. I'm excited to be able to give you a little bit of my life and walk you through some of the things that I am walking through as the dreamer as they're happening. So, I was on the phone with someone last week, 2 weeks ago, and they asked me where I was, and I told them where I was. And as I was talking to her, God had me share my story with her. And as I started to share my story, God said, get used to sharing your story because you're about to share it with the world. And I said, ah. Are you sure about that? But I am a obedient child. At least in this season of my life, I'm an obedient child. Catch me like 5-6 years ago, I was way less obedient. Less than 5 years ago, I was still like way less obedient. But in this season, I am an obedient child. And so if he says to share, I'm going to share. And I do think that there's merit and value to being able to share what it really looks like and what it really feels like to walk through the God dream, right? Because as you're walking through it, it doesn't always look like what you've seen in the future. What you've seen in your dreams, like when you're getting what it looks like, it doesn't always look like that as you're walking through it. It doesn't always look so cut and dry, right? And so I get to share with you guys what my journey looks like, and all the ins and outs and ups and downs that I'm experiencing. There's some things I can't share yet, and depending on how long these things go, these sweet dreams with the dreamer story time. Depending on how long they go and whatnot, you may get privy to some more information as we walk it out. But there's some things I can't share yet because I do believe that, like, as you're believing for specific things, sometimes you got to hold those things close to you and God until you're released to share, because your dream is valuable, and you don't want it to get into the wrong hands. So But these particular things in my journey, I can't share, and I get to share, and we get to see how that goes. So, buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be a wild ride. So, um, where am I now? I think that's a good question to answer for you. Where am I now? Currently, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here for about 2 years. Um, I moved here in the middle of COVID, in the middle of the pandemic. And when I moved here, I moved on a go, but I moved here on a go with a job, right? So I'm a coach. I've been a coach for a little over 3 years. Um, and it's been, I love being a coach. That part about this journey, I've grown to love in a real way. Um, and I'm excited for the journey of being able to move in new directions with my business, and being able to meet new people, being able to help new people, and to be able to continue to serve the people that I do serve currently. Um, so let's talk about how I got to Atlanta, because this is a backward and forward. So there are going to be some days where we are current. There are going to be some days that we are forward, and there are going to be some days that we're talking backwards. So let me bring you up to speed and let you know how we got here. Okay. So I'm not going to tell you all the ins and outs yet. I'm just going to tell you how I got here. So during COVID, I was not looking for anything in particular. I just was looking for something to do to grow what I currently was doing. So um, at that time, I was a fairly new coach. I had been in coaching for a little while, but I wasn't really moving um, too much in that space. There were things that I was doing, but I wasn't moving too much in that space. And I wanted to get an experience um, under an organization. So I was looking for something, but I didn't really know what I was looking for, but I knew I was looking for it in the space that I was serving. And so I started off as a financial coach, and so I was trying to see if there were any opportunities out there, and I found something that looked like it was exactly what I wanted to do. It looked like it was exactly what I wanted to do. I was like, this is it. Like, just working with the type of people I want to work with, in the type of environment I want to work in, et cetera, et cetera. And this job was in Greenville, South Carolina. I'd never been to Greenville. At this time, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I had never been to Greenville. I'd never been there a day in my life. But we're in the middle of COVID, and I was open to whatever God wanted to do. And so I applied, and I got through round one. I really prepared for my interview. I was ready, and I got through round one. I was excited. I prayed about it. I'm like, God, this is the door you have for me. You're just going to make everything work. Around the same time, I only applied to two things because I really wasn't looking for a job at this time. I knew that God had called me to start a business, but I was looking for an opportunity to just be in an environment where I could learn from my space and really get good. And so I knew that God had called me to start a business, but I knew that I also wanted to get good, get really good at being a coach, and to do this business differently than I had done some previous businesses. Not that there was anything wrong with those businesses, but I knew that there was something different I wanted. And I know that, let's talk about it. Part of that difference that I wanted was I wanted a business where I knew that God would get the glory, right? I wanted a business that was completely submitted and surrendered to Him. I wanted to be in a business. I wanted to build a business that I didn't have to compromise who I was for or what I believed for. I wanted to build a business that um, I knew that he would get the glory in. I think that I was just looking to have his hand in everything. And I didn't know what that looked like. I just knew that it wasn't fully what I had, right? And so I wanted more. Like I wanted everything to be able to go back, and point back to God. Um, that's how I wanted it to run. Like um, it was, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, so I wanted something different. So I was looking for an opportunity to chop my skills and get really good at being a coach. And so I applied for that business, well, that job. But at the same time, I applied for another job, and I really wasn't excited about that job. It had the title of what I wanted to do, but it didn't really like the description didn't really fit what I thought I wanted, right? And so around the same time I had the first interview at the first place, I had the first interview for that place. I didn't prepare for it. I didn't really like go into it with a whole lot of enthusiasm. With the application process, I just applied because I heard to apply. So I did what I was told. Um, and so I made it to round 2 in the interview for the one that I wanted in Greenville. And I was excited about that. I was like, yes, so excited. And then they invited me to round 3, which they were going to fly me out there for and, pay for all the things and, set me up so that I could come and do round 3 of the interview. And I got to Greenville and it was an interesting journey. And when I was preparing that night, I got the second round interview for the other job. And that job was in Atlanta. And I was in my hotel room getting ready to eat my Chipotle while preparing to interview for this new job. And while I was there in my hotel room, interviewing for the job in Atlanta, I'm on the phone with them and they're talking to me about the job. And now, mind you, I'm in the hotel room that is paid for by the job that I'm interviewing for in Greenville at this moment. And so I'm talking to them on the phone, and there was a specific thing that he asked me about in my interview question. He asked me, I'll never forget it. He asked me if I went to a HBCU. And I don't want y'all to take this out of context. I'm not going to even tell y'all where I was working at or any of those things. Now, and also know that the person on the phone also went to an HBCU, and so did I. And so when he phrased that question, he knew that I went to an HBCU, and he asked me if I went to an HBCU. I said yes. And so when he asked me that, he said, then I want you to know that coming into this particular environment is going to remind you of walking through your time at your HBCU. And he said, I don't want you to take that out of context, but this is what I want you to understand. There are going to be a lot of opportunities for networking. There are going to be a lot of opportunities to build something. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to really, get good at being a coach. Now, I hadn't said any of these things to him that I wanted to build something or that I wanted to get good at being a coach or any of those things. And he just said those things in the interview. And then he said, but you're going to have to go and get a lot of things, right? And so I don't know if you went to a HBCU or not. I love my HBCU. I will never, never, never not love my HBCU. Morgan State all day. But at the same time, I had to do I had to go get a lot of things. I had um, to fight for some things. Right? I had to, it is the relationships that you build there are amazing, and the things that were given to me, I will never, ever, ever um, forget because they were so valuable. My time at my school was so valuable and helped me to be the woman that I am today. Had I not gone through that process, I would not be the woman that I am today. And so I'm grateful for moment, every single moment, the family, the environment, all of it. But there were some things I had to fight for. Let's be real. And so, and being there also taught me how to not, how do I phrase this well? Let's see. It taught me how to be a go-getter. That's what it did. It taught me how to be a go-getter. It taught me how to really not let the lack of anything or the perceived lack of anything hold me back from doing whatever I needed to do to get what I needed to get. Period. That is invaluable, right? That is invaluable. It taught me how to be a go-getter. It taught me how to build things. It taught me how to really hone in on my creativity. It taught me how to really like just be sharp at what it was that I did, how to be the best at what it was that I did and whatever that looked like, right? So um, when he said that, I knew what that meant. And when he said that, and I knew what that meant, I also knew that God was calling me there. And so it really didn't even matter what happened at the interview the next day. I knew that God was moving me to Atlanta. Now, Atlanta was not my plan. It was not my plan. But God moved me to Atlanta. And I worked that job for a little bit shy, literally weeks shy of 2 years. On when I made the agreement to start that job, I knew that I was going to have to um, sacrifice some things. There's going to have to be some sacrifices made, but I also knew that what I heard God say was that I've built a lot of things for a lot of people. But this time, when I build, I'm going to leave with something that I can take with me. And it wasn't something that the job could give me, it was something that I was going to be able to grow and develop into. So, someone I was going to be able to grow and develop into um, for the place that He wanted to take me. He said specifically that I would only be there for 2 years. Um, he said, so whatever you need to get it while you're there. Whatever you need to learn it while you're there. Because when I move you out of there, I'm going to move you into the things that I'm calling you to do. And so I did. I was a financial coach in that job for 2 years. And I left that job, resigned from that job in April. And let's fast forward. I'll take you back there later. So, fast forwarding. When I knew I was moving again, it was May of 2023, which is this year. I'll get into some of those details a little bit later. But I knew that there was a move coming for me. I didn't know where it was. I had an idea of where it was, but I wasn't 1,000% sure. I heard something. I didn't really like what I heard. So I, put it in the back burner and said, okay. But I knew that I was going to be moving I moved somewhere close by. I'll give you more details on that later. But I moved somewhere close by, like it's still in the Atlanta area, in May. And when I made that move, um, I remember having a conversation with my dad, and I told him that, like, he was talking about storage spaces, and um, we were evaluating the cost and the time for storage space, and he was talking about having that storage space for 3 years and how much it was going to total up to for 3 years if I stayed in that storage space. And I remember saying, 3 years? I'm not going to be there for 3 years. I won't be there longer than 6 months. Yeah, you see. I'm not going to be there longer than 6 months. So I knew I was moving. I just didn't know where. I thought it was going to be somewhere else in this area. Um, but no, that's not what was in the plans. So um, when in between May and August, um, my awareness for where I was moving became increasingly loud and clear, and so loud and so clear that I had to book a flight to get there and see, put my feet on the ground and get some verification for where God was taking me. So he had me book a flight, and we'll talk more about that later. But he had me book a flight and go to the land that he was taking me. So when I think about my journey thus far in this season, I think about Genesis 12 when God told Abraham to go. He said, "Where am I going? To the place I will show you." Just go. Abraham didn't necessarily know what he was going to be doing there or where he was going. Specifically, he just knew that God was telling him to go. And so I heard it in May. When I went in August, it was confirmed for me. And I said yes in obedience, right? But it hadn't quite made its way to my heart. No, so my spirit said yes. So like it was solid in my heart. Like if God said it, let's do it, right? Because that's where I'm at in this season of my life. If God said it, we're gonna go. If God said it, we're gonna move. And so he said it, I agreed. It was here, but not here or here, right? And so I had to take 2 more trips. And so I went back in about a little over 30 days later. And in that trip, it made its way to my head. So I not only knew that I was moving, I not only agreed to the move with God, but I was starting to be settled in the yes that I gave God. So move from my heart to my head. So I was mentally, I was agreeing, right? My spirit agreed. My mind was starting to agree. Um, and then on this last trip that I made, my hands agreed. So what that means is my spirit said yes. My mind said yes. And then my hands agreed to doing the things that it was going to take for me to physically do, for me to actually physically move, right? So, where am I moving? I'm moving to Chicago. I'm moving to Chicago, Illinois. Um, I never saw this coming. I never saw this coming. This was not in any. Ooh, did I bring tissues over here? I need like a box of tissues or something. This was not in any idea I ever had for my life. It was not in any imagination that I ever had for my life. This is not in the plans. This is not in the plans. This is not in the plans. But it was in God's plan. Um, and each time that I went back, God was not just confirming his word for me, but he was drilling down that he had a plan for me there. And so this move is different. The first move was on a go, but it was on a go with something. This move is on a go with, I don't know. I don't know, right? It's not scary. It's not scary. It's exciting. I'm excited for the move. Don't get my tears mixed up for sadness. I'm not sad about the move. I'm excited for the experience that me and God get to go on. And I'm excited for the testimony that gets to come out of this, because I know that God has told you to do something, right? Which is the reason he has me doing these lives, is he's told some of you to do something. And it might not be as big as moving across country, right? But it may be something that feels a little bit uncomfortable for you. It may feel strange. It may feel a little crazy. It may feel like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you may feel like you don't have all the pieces to the puzzle, which is why he has me doing these, right? He has me doing these so that if you are that person that God has told to do something, to move in a specific way, to go a specific place, or to do a specific thing, that you'll actually start to move into that space. You'll actually start to do that thing and know that you're not alone, right? You're not the only person that God has told to do something without the complete steps, right? So these sweet dreams with the dreamer, these story times are meant to be a little bit of me giving you a little bit of vulnerability about my journey, but also encouragement for you to do the things, right? I'm a dreamer, right? I wouldn't be talking to you, the dreamers, if I wasn't a dreamer, because I wouldn't know what it is. I wouldn't know what it is, and I wouldn't know what that means, and I wouldn't know how to move or any of those things. But because I am a dreamer, God has given me big dreams. He's given me big dreams. He's given me things that to even talk about at this point wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to a lot of people. But I know that they're a thing, right? I know that they're a thing. I know that I'm not crazy, right? And I know that I get to walk it out with God because he gave it to me. And I wouldn't be so confident about this journey or about the previous journeys or about your journey, um, if I wasn't rooted in the fact that I know that I hear him, right? I know. No, let's take that back. I wouldn't be so adamant about me doing this thing or you doing your things that God has told you to do if I hadn't been through those previous journeys, right? Each time that I had to go through something, it built a little bit more courage in me. It built a little bit more boldness in me. And it built a little bit more faith, trust, and belief in not just God, but in what God said is possible for me, what He was going to do, and what He said that I could do, right? Um, I've said this in some previous some previous things that we've done together, but like um, my my journey has not always been that I didn't believe in God. Part of my journey was that I didn't always believe in what He said about me, about what He said was possible for me, and what He said I could have, right? And I don't know where those false narratives came from, but I do know I had them, and I do know I had to work through them. And I'm still some days working through them because doubt, fear, anxiety come for me too. They come for me too, especially in something like this where like I don't know. And there's a lot attached to it that I don't know. There's a lot of things that I get to do on this journey that don't quite make sense to me. And I don't know. I don't get to see how it all plays out. And sometimes I just got to do it and trust that God is going to do His part. And that's it. That's all I got. Right. And so down the line, I will be able to understand, or I'm able to understand that, like, God is, God did have a purpose for it. Like, I know He does. Like, I know He has a purpose for it, but like, I get to see some of the results of what I did that doesn't make sense to me or makes me feel extra like, yo, are you all right? Because some days that's how I feel. I'm like, yo, you good? You good? All right. Just checking. And some days I've had to get in the car and just drive. There's some days that I've had to like breathe through the things. There's some days that like I literally just felt sick because I'm like, are we sure? But like each time God has given me verification, confirmation that what He is telling me to do is not me. One, because that's always a fear of mine as a dreamer, as someone who has dreams and visions. It is always, always, always a worry for me that I'm moving in my own dream, right? That I'm moving in my own vision. Like I need to, like I'm constantly going back to God. All right, is this me or you? Am I thinking this, or is this you giving me this? Because I need to know. I don't want to be out here doing anything that is not in alignment with the things that you have for me. I want to make sure that if you are giving it to me, then I'm carrying it out. But if it's me giving it to myself, I don't want to do it. Count me out. I don't want to do it. If it's me giving it to myself, I don't want it. No, because it's costly, and I don't want to have to pay that price of moving in my own strength. I did that. Listen, there are plenty of years of my life where Candace moved on Candace, and that was it. And like she heard God, she heard him and disregarded and kept doing what she wanted to do. There are plenty of years in my journey that look like that. And I'm no longer in a place in my life where I want to deal with consequences of moving on my own. Don't want to do it. Don't want to touch that. I don't want to play with that. And so I'm constantly going back. Hey, God, is me or you? Let's get some clarity. I need some clarity. I need some understanding, and I need it quickly because you are telling me to do the thing quickly. And so in the quickness, I need some. Yeah, you're gonna have to send a plane, a train, an automobile, something, so that I'm sure of what we're doing here. But um, God gives people. He gives words. He gives affirmation. He gives clear vision. He gives clear dreams. Um, and I know that I hear him, right? Um, and I know that I get to walk this thing out with him. And he gets to give me the things. And I get to do the things. And I get to move in the way that he wants me to move. So this particular move is to Chicago. So um, I'm excited to be able to share my journey with you, my journey forward and my journey backwards. I'm excited to be able to tell you some of the things that me and God have been up to. Feels like we've been on a wild roller coaster ride together over the last few years, but this year tops the cake, and you'll see. I'll tell you some more of the things, but I think this is a good place to start and a good place to stop for today. Yeah. So here's the thing. Go do the things. If he told you to do something, it's time to move it from something that he told you to do that you're saying, oh, okay, I'm not sure, to, all right, God, what does this look like? Give me the next step because I need that, right? He's going to give you the next step as you ask him for it. But you got to ask him for it so that he can give you the next step so that you can start doing the things. Time out for not doing the things that God is telling us to do, right? There's so many things that we don't always get because we don't fully walk in the belief that God wants us to have, that he has something for us. He has a plan. Like, the verses in the Bible aren't just verses, right? They're not just the good things for us to read and say, oh, yeah, it's a good story. I'm so motivated by it. But like the verses in the Bible, the stories in the Bible are there to show you that you are not alone, that if God can use any of those people, that he can use you, right? And yet to help you to see and have a blueprint for some of the journeys that are ahead for you, right? So when God says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in a future, you get to believe that for yourself and apply it as he moves you forward. Time to do the things. Time to be the people who build the dream. And I think that's all I have for you today, friends. So that's it for today on Story Time with the Dreamer, and or Sweet Dreams with the Dreamer, whatever this is called. That's it for today, folks. That's all I got for you. And Till next time, whenever that is. It'll be soon though, because I have so much more to share with you. So I'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Sleep well. And I'll see you next time.